On the line by the host of the Mark Levin Show. He is indeed the great one. Mark Levin joins us. Hello, Mark.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Okay, listen to this.
We are not just going to be waiting for legislation in order to make sure that we're providing Americans the kind of help that they need. I've got a pen and I've got a phone.
We're not going to have to deal with that pesky old Congress and pass legislation the old-fashioned, and I might add, constitutional way. No, we've got a pen and we got a phone, and we're going to circumvent the Constitution. I know this is a topic that is near and dear to your heart, so just have at it.
Yeah, and it's infuriating, and he's done this before, and he has said this before. If Congress doesn't act, he will. So he's confessing to violating the Constitution and looking for other ways to violate the Constitution. At the heart of the Constitution is separation of powers. The framers didn't invent it. They borrowed it from Montesquieu and Locke and so forth. It is at the heart of the Constitution, and when you read the debates that took place at the Constitutional Convention, the one thing that they all agreed to is they needed to create this executive, but they needed to limit his powers. They needed checks and balances. And so when you read the Constitution, which most people don't, which this president clearly doesn't or doesn't care about, he can only do what that document confers upon him. So that's the key, number one. Now, what has he done? He's attacked the First Amendment, religious liberty. He's attacked the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. The Fourth Amendment, due process with surveillance. The Fifth Amendment, private property rights. The 10th Amendment, federalism and state authority. He's changing Obamacare whenever he wants to. He makes executive appointments claiming that the Senate is in recess when it's not. He took the workfare part, wrote it right out of the statute of welfare. Immigration, he's legalizing immigrants in violation of federal law. I mean, I can go on. You talk about pot. You guys are interested in talking about pot.
Yeah, we've been talking about that a fair amount today.
And I'm sure neither of you have ever smoked it. I can tell you I never smoked it.
I never did.
All right, but that's
no comment, Mark.
Two of us.
I have no comment on this.
But the point is, Holder just announces we're not enforcing federal pot laws. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, and nobody else has either. Here's the problem. The system is so broken. The courts can't keep up with this guy because it's catch me if you can. It takes years for these matters to be litigated.
Yeah.
And secondly, since Congress has surrendered the power of the purse, you'll hear them say, don't shut down the government, don't shut down the government. Even if you believe it, you don't keep saying it. And so what Obama has said is, you guys can't do anything. You're not going to do anything. The courts can't catch up with me, or if they do now and then, I'll deal with that. But I'm going to keep this up, and there's not a damn thing you're going to do about it. So we have, in my view, and I say this not to be a provocateur, gradual, quiet coup. This president is operating outside the Constitution, and future presidents who have the same mindset are going to use what he's doing as precedent to expand the power of the president even further.
So, Mark, there was a time when the American people who agreed with us on this and the limitation of the executive branch, we looked to the Republican Party to bring it back to the constitutional role of the People's House and for the states. And then you have this story yesterday of this omnibus spending bill with over $1 trillion to keep the government going just for 9 months, pushed through without any procedure. We don't even know what's in it. One thing we do know is in it is a reduction in military benefits, pensions for the military. And apparently, according to Chris Van Hollen on this network yesterday, or on the station yesterday, he said that the Democrats offered reductions in agriculture subsidies, but the Republicans said, no, we don't want to touch that. Let's stick it to the military pensions. I mean, has the Republican Party completely lost it? There's no reason for them to be there anymore, is there?
Are you accusing them of being rhinos, my friend?
Well, you know how we like to not use that term because of Mike Huckabee.
It's a perfectly good term, and let me tell you why. These are what I call neo-statists, and let me explain what I mean by that. No discernible standard or practical means to hem in the power of the federal government, and too often they contribute to its expansion while clothing themselves in the nomenclature of conservatism. And this is going on and on and on. This bill came out of the House of Representatives. It's over 1,500 pages long. Not a single Republican member has read it. Senator Coburn was on my show 2 days ago. He said there's not a single elected official on Capitol Hill who has read this bill. It's been written by staffers. They pump stuff into this thing. It's being voted on. Yesterday it was voted on. It came out of the House.
They cheered when they passed it, Mark.
They cheered when they passed it because, we can't shut down the government. In other words, you keep giving up the Holy Grail. You keep saying that. So everything's going to go through Congress. And this is why people are furious, and this is why some people like me say, we need a new Republican Party. In the 70s, Reagan was challenging Ford. He said, look, we need a new Republican Party. We need some new leaders with new thinking, with new vision, who haven't been around forever, who actually have energy, who want to fight this sort of stuff, and do what they can. I know we have 1/2 of 1/3 of Congress, but we have constitutional tools. And even more than that, speak to the American people. Talk to the American people. Why wasn't this massive bill put through the committee process? I'll tell you why. Because they don't want Brian and Larry and me and our audiences to know what the hell's in it.
What's in it? That's right. Okay, I've got to wind you up on this pot thing because, in Maryland they're going to legalize it, it appears, and the District of Columbia, they are incrementally headed that way. I think this is a huge societal mistake. What do you think?
All right, a couple quick things. Number one, I'm very troubled that in a country that is deteriorating like ours, that this is a focus. That states going broke, they want to legalize pot, and so I oppose legalizing pot, but that's different than saying decriminalizing. And what does it mean to decriminalize? If in essence you decriminalize it to the point where you're legalizing it, then there's no distinction, which is what it sounds like they're doing in D.C.
That's exactly right.
On the other hand, Brian, if some college kid is caught with a joint in their pocket, they're not even smoking it. It's in their pocket. What do you want to do to that kid?
I
want them to have a criminal record for
No.
the time?
Listen, I don't have a problem with saying that, mistakes were made, and this kid, at age 18 has done a dumb thing and therefore should be tarred and feathered for the rest of their life.
Well,
I don't feel that at all. But I do feel that there's a difference when the government basically says pot's okay.
Well, and they shouldn't. And I'll tell you something else. On the other hand, we don't want to, take crime tape and wrap it around every college campus, right? Because,
we'd run out of tape.
But the fact of the matter is, I bet 90% of the people listening have smoked pot, other than you and me and some others. And furthermore, there are dangerous occasions, Larry, when people shouldn't be using pot.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
Okay, so, what are we going to do? Have 500 exceptions to the legalization rule? The point is, we ought to discourage it. It's not healthy. We ought to discourage booze. We try to discourage booze. But to keep making the comparisons, you know what Jefferson said about a foolish consistency. The fact of the matter is, I don't want my kids smoking pot.
Right.
Me neither.
As far as I know, they don't. Okay, but if society says it's legal and it's on TV and you see people lined up buying it at 7-Elevens and smoking their head off, then it makes it tougher for parents to deal with that. On the other hand, if a kid has a joint in their pocket and they did something stupid, I don't think that should be on their record for the rest of the time where they can't get a job. So I think I'm no expert on this, but I think something ought to be addressed that's not
somewhere down the middle.
Throwing the book
moderate Mark Levin.
There we go.
Hey, Mark, real fast. People think that you just write books and you do a brilliant radio show. You must have seen a movie this year. They're announcing the Oscars right now. Do you have a favorite?
Actually, I haven't seen a movie this year.
Darn it! I took a risk.
But I am going to see Lone Survivor this
There it
weekend.
is. See Lone Survivor.
It's good.
Right.
It's worth
Thanks,
your time.
Mark Levin.
God bless, guys. Thank you.